Before the federal election took place in April, the Parliamentary Budget Officer estimated that the deficit this year, the federal deficit, would be close to $47 billion. Now, that seemed like an improvement. It's bad, but it seemed like an improvement over the $62 billion that the Liberals racked up in the last year that Justin Trudeau was the Prime Minister. And everybody was saying, with Mark Carney, he's such a great financial brain. He was a former governor of the Bank of Canada, the former governor of the Bank of England. Things are going to get better. Well, we have evidence this week from the Howe Institute in Toronto that the federal deficit this year will be closer to $86 billion. It may even top $90 billion, which would be twice what the Parliamentary Budget Officer said was the baseline. Now, the Parliamentary Budget Officer is not to blame here. His office said that is before all of the campaign promises. And the Liberals have made enormous campaign promises, particularly on housing and the military. Now, I'm all for spending more on the military, but you have to find some other cuts in the federal government. First of all, under Justin Trudeau, the Liberals grew the federal civil service by just about 40%, and they grew the cost of the civil service, the payroll of the civil service, by over 90%. They hired a lot more civil servants, and they paid everybody in the civil service a lot more money. There are some efficiencies to be made. There are some cuts that could be made in the federal civil service. That would help reduce the deficit. But the Carney government's not going to reduce any spending. And on the other end of the country, at the Fraser Institute in Vancouver, they estimated that under the Trudeau government, investment in Canadian business went down by 20% per worker. If you look at productivity numbers, I know this is all sounding very number heavy and economic theory, but if you look at Canada's productivity numbers, they're among the worst in the developed world. Among the 40 richest countries in the world, we have among the lowest per person, per capita productivity numbers. That's bad. And it's gone down under the Liberals. The Fraser Institute estimates that $387 billion in investment was lost under the Trudeau government. That's almost $40 billion a year under the Trudeau government. And the Carney government's doing nothing to get it back. You say, but they passed Bill C-5. That's the thing that speeds up national interest projects. But it doesn't change the regulatory problems that caused the lack of investment in the first place. It simply allows the cabinet by itself, without Parliament, to decide who gets exempted from those regulations, which projects will get extra government funding, who's going to get favored. It's a favoritism bill. That's all it is. And that's what makes most governments petty regimes. Is when you're playing favoritism. You're not going on policy. You're not going on evidence. You're not using economics to decide how to grow your economy. You're using government favoritism. So we're looking at deficits now for the next 4 years, somewhere in the neighborhood of $350 billion cumulatively, according to the Howe Institute. $350 billion. On top of the $600 billion that the Trudeau government racked up. It is simply unconscionable. There is no way that this country can survive that level of debt. And yet, the Carney government will not bring in a budget. Is it a surprise they won't bring in a budget? No, with those numbers I've just given you, where their deficit's going to be double what the Parliamentary Budget Officer estimated it would be, with their loss of investment because of their over-regulation of the economy, of course they're not bringing in a budget. They don't want to bring in a budget because then you would see the damage that they're about to do with their favoritism and their political game playing on the financial side. It's simply unbelievable. For Postmedia, I'm Lorne Gunter.